Linda Hazzard killed at least 12 people by giving them a starvation diet. However, what's ironic is the fact that she ultimately died by giving herself the same diet. She went on a starvation diet and she ultimately died from doing the same thing that she killed at least 12 people. This case has got to be the most craziest case I've ever done. You guys don't want to miss it. Come follow me. What's different about my channel is I don't just talk about the crimes, we actually go to where they are. If you like the content, just hit the subscribe button. It is free. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Harmon. Today's video is all about a lady who claimed to be a doctor. Her name was Linda Hazzard, and she was able to get dozens of people to take her starvation diet, and she ended up basically killing about 12 people. We'll get into all that. So I have my sisters here, Noelle and Alyssa.
Linda grew up in Minnesota. She was one of 7 siblings. She got married when she was only 18 and she had 2 kids. Linda divorced her first husband and married Samuel Hazzard. When Linda and Samuel got married, Samuel had not divorced his first wife, so he was charged with bigamy and served 2 years in prison.
Samuel Hazzard, he actually was in the army, and he was kicked out of the army because he ended up stealing a bunch of the funds. It doesn't say that he was sent to prison for that, although he was sent to prison later for the bigamy. After Samuel got out of prison in 1906, after the bigamy charge, him and Linda both moved to Washington State. They purchased a building in Seattle, and then they also had their home in a town called Olalla. Linda ended up making her practice inside the home, and they ended up calling it Wilderness Heights. Linda never had a medical degree or diploma. She actually only had a medical license, and that was only the case because there was some weird loophole in Washington state law back then in like the early 1900s. So she was able to still kind of practice her bizarre medicine, which included, you know, starving all her patients. And she was able to get away with it because the old loophole in the law, she didn't have to get an actual degree. But her first murder was in 1902 of a patient she had in Minnesota, and she was able to get away with it. They did try to charge her and convict her of it, but she wasn't found guilty. The theory is, I guess, she didn't get convicted because she didn't have a degree to promote herself as an actual doctor. The patient willingly went there and did the starvation diet, and so because the patient went willingly to her, because she didn't like promote herself like that as a doctor, she was able to get away with that murder. What her regimen was, what her cure was, what people went to her sanitarium or house for is nothing short of insane. So her quote-unquote cure was to basically have the people fast. Whenever you hear the word fasting, most people think, oh, that means they didn't eat anything at all. But that's not true. All these people that came to Linda's help, they did eat, but it was very, very, very small portions, and it's usually once a day. And usually it was just like soup or nothing really nutritious to actually, you know, help you survive. She would do daily enemas on her patients. And I'm not talking about like a 10-minute procedure or anything like that. These enemas would go on for hours and hours and hours. Insanely painful. And I'm assuming most of you know what that is, but like if you don't, it's not a fun process, and it basically cleanses out your entire system. And she would do this to her patients like on a daily basis. And again, super painful, couple hours every day. So for whatever reason, she did these crazy massages that were not like a normal massage. They were insanely painful. She would actually use her fists, and she would beat on the patient's back and forehead with her fists. And I'm like, thinking to myself, why the heck would anyone not only go there, but pay her money to do these daily enemas and to get beaten up by someone beating on their back and their forehead? Like, it just does not make any sense to me. But she just had this charisma about her that brought people into her. I just don't know. Got sucked into. It's almost like a cult. You know what I mean? Where it's like people, they just get drawn into the leader or whoever, and they just follow whatever they say. In 1908, there were 3 victims that Linda killed. Their names were Elgin Cox, Ida Wilcox, and Daisy Maud Hagland. And for those of you who don't know, Daisy Hagland, her son was Ivor. And Ivor, he started the Ivor's Seafood Restaurant around Seattle. It is one of the most popular restaurants around Seattle. So her son started it. So his mom is one of the victims of Linda's. So it's insane. It's crazy how someone so popular, at least around Seattle, who made a popular restaurant, his mom was killed by Linda, you know, through fasting. Ivor was only 3 years old at the time that his mother died. Again, so he was just a very, very small child, a toddler. It doesn't mention anything about his father. If I can find that info, I will 100% put it in the video. But at the time of this recording, none of the articles stated anything about his father or what happened with that. Daisy ended up doing a 50-day fast, and she ended up dying on February 26, 1908, age 38. Again, she was still really, really young when she died. Ida Wilcox, she did a 47-day fast, almost as long as Daisy did, and she ended up dying September 26, 1908. In 1909, the next year, Linda killed 3 more people. Their names were Blanche Tyndall, Viola Hearton, and Eugene Stanley Wakelin. Blanche Tyndall died June 18th, 1909. Viola Hearton died March 24th, 1909. Eugene Stanley Wakelin was 26 years old at the time of his death. He actually was from New Zealand, and his dad was a British lord, so he was the son of a British lord. So that being said, Linda, of course being Linda, she thought he was super, super rich and well off, considering he was the son of a British lord. However, he wasn't as rich or well off as Linda thought. Linda found out that he wasn't as rich and well off as she was presuming. The rumor is that Linda actually killed Stanley by shooting him in the head with a shotgun. He was found dead on their property with a shotgun blast. The police, I believe, came. They didn't arrest Linda. They just assumed it was a suicide. But a lot of people around the area, they assumed that she killed him because she found out he just wasn't rich. And of course she wanted to steal his money and whatever else that she could. The next year in 1910, Linda killed 3 more people. She killed Blanche Whitney, Earl Erdman, and Lewis Emerson Ratter. Earl Erdman was 24 years old at the time of his death. He ended up doing a 58-day fast. So his 58-day fast lasted from February 1st to March 28th. He was a civil engineer. He had severe digestion issues and stomach issues, and so he went to several doctors before he ended up going to seek help from Linda. Apparently the other doctors were no help whatsoever for his stomach and other issues going on. He decided to go to Linda and get help from her. Unfortunately, that was a terrible decision by him because, of course, he ended up dying after doing a 58-day fast. Lewis Emerson Ratter was very, very well off. He was a politician, a legislator, and even was a publisher of a magazine company called Sound Views. He was very, very well off. So the reason that Lewis went to Linda to seek help from her and try her fasting diet was because he was going through some bad stomach pain. He actually was being treated at home by Linda, and then he was actually moved to a hotel called the Seattle Outlook Hotel, where Linda would actually go there and treat him there at the hotel. Some health inspectors came and talked to Lewis and actually told him that he shouldn't listen to what Linda is telling him, and he shouldn't be following her diet plan. But for whatever reason, he didn't listen, and he actually ended up dying 39 days later on May 11th at 46 years old. So before Lewis died, he actually was on $25,000 bail out of jail because he was arrested for swindling money from some other companies. So he actually was on bail, kind of awaiting trial when he died. Pretty insane.
In 1911, Linda killed Frank Southard, C.A. Harrison, and John Flux. Southard was a lawyer, and Harrison was the publisher of Alaska Yukon magazine. Flux came to America from Britain to buy a ranch. Flux did a 53-day diet, and he died and signed his assets over to Linda Hazzard.
In February 1911, the Williamson sisters, Claire and Dorothy, who were both in their early 30s, were from Britain, and they ended up traveling to Victoria, BC on a holiday. And they read an advertisement for Linda Hazzard's book, and they decided that they would come down from Victoria, BC down to, of course, the sanitarium, even though they didn't have any ailments or anything wrong with them. I guess they just were the type of people that really were into trying new things. To me, it's kind of like any new trend nowadays. There's so many new trends out there that some people will just follow because it's a new thing. People want to follow it. People want to be a part of it. And I think that's kind of how the Williamson sisters thought. Claire Williamson, she ended up dying at Linda's house. Her sister Dorothy ended up surviving, but just barely. Dorothy and Claire were able to send out a telegram to one of their friends that they knew, and they were able to get their friend to come to Linda's house to basically try to rescue them out of there. But by the time that their friend arrived, Claire already had died, and Dorothy again was extremely ill. However, Linda didn't want to let Dorothy go so easily. Linda actually demanded that the lady pay money to get Dorothy out of there. So the friend of Dorothy and Claire was able to get enough money put together from her uncle to where they could pay Linda and take Dorothy out of there, of course, before she died too. In 1912, while Linda was still awaiting her sentencing, she actually was out, kind of what we would consider like out on bail. So she ended up killing 4 people while she was awaiting trial. What the heck? So she killed Ida Anderson, Robert Graham, Mary Bailey, and Fred Epson. Linda received a sentence of 2 to 20 years in prison for manslaughter. However, she only served 2 years of the 2 to 20. So her sentence was 1913 to December 26th, 1915. So the day after Christmas, basically 2 years she served. She was released, and she actually was pardoned by the governor of her crimes. So in 1916, the year after she was released, the governor actually pardoned her, which means her crime was kind of just wiped off her record. Which again, everything that happened up until this point, you just like, how did she get that low of a prison sentence? Why did the governor decide to get rid of her record? I feel like all these people were brainwashed. In 1916, Linda and her husband Samuel packed up what they had and they actually moved to New Zealand. Again, this was after she got released from prison. Obviously, they wanted to get away from this area considering people knew that she was convicted of killing someone. So I think they wanted to escape and go somewhere far away where she could again kind of do the same ruse of stealing the people's property. And so anyway, so from 1916 to 1920, Linda and her husband lived in New Zealand. She actually ended up getting fined by the New Zealand police because she again was operating without a doctor's license. She didn't get any prison time, but she was fined a couple $100s. So for whatever reason, in 1920, 4 years after living in New Zealand, Linda and her husband Samuel both moved back to Olalla, where everything started. I guess she thought maybe that enough time had passed where people would maybe start wanting to kind of trust her again. I don't really know for sure. But even though her popularity decreased, she still got customers. She still got patients that would come and stay. They built the sanitarium. Again, she didn't get as many patients as she did before. She still did the same thing. She would take their money, whatever they could. She would make them sign a will over to her and basically take whatever they had. All the information that I found, I'll list all the articles in the description below so you can check them out and see where I got all the information from. But all the articles that I read, none of them really talked about if she actually killed anyone from 1920 to 1935 when she moved back to Olalla from New Zealand. However, the sanitarium actually did burn to the ground in 1935, but my guess is arson. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because, of course, with her reputation, not everyone loved Linda, as you can imagine. Lots of haters and people, of course, that were frustrated that she only got convicted of the one murder and only served 2 years. So many people, of course, were not happy with her. She actually died 3 years later in 1938. And ironically enough, she died doing the same thing that she put her patients through. She died from fasting. I just can't believe it. So she died doing the same thing that she did to her patients, which in a sense is kind of its own form of justice if you think about it. She died at the age of 70. She wanted to prove to others that her remedy of fasting actually worked. Again, all the articles we read doesn't really talk about if she actually killed anyone in New Zealand. And it also doesn't really talk about if she killed anyone after she came back to Olalla in 1920. There's obviously some rumors and different things that people have heard, but there's no concrete proof that she killed anyone in New Zealand or when she returned in 1920. So we made it here to one of the cemeteries here in Olalla. And this cemetery has been rumored to be the cemetery where some of the victims of Linda Hazzard buried here. The actual cemetery entrance is like a trailhead. Doesn't look anything like a cemetery. Anyway, it's like a small trailhead off of the road. This cemetery was not in use very long. It was in use from 1901 to 1930. So basically right during the height of Linda Hazzard's murder spree. After 1930, hasn't been in use since.
This is like 1923.
Is that what that says?
Yes, that wouldn't be her.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Isn't that creepy? There's like thousands of these little bugs on this gravestone.
Makes me shiver.
Yeah, like what? Johannes Carlson.
Looks like they were planning on putting more burial over around here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, does it kind of look like that?
The way they set it up, it looks like you would walk into here and then it would be like a...
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so Noah found this, like, it does look like some old, what would have been like either one giant headstone or like a family plot potentially would have been here. It does, doesn't it? Because there is like an entrance, so yeah, it looks like it would have been some sort of like family plot or maybe just one giant person's headstone or something. Yeah. Like someone wealthy.
Just walk this way. Try not to one more picture head straight.
Can your camera even see it?
So the cemetery here is only about maybe a half mile or so from Linda and Samuel Hazzard's sanitarium and their household. Again, the actual sanitarium burned down in 1935, and her house, I believe, was torn down about 4 or 5 years ago. So the actual house isn't there anymore. I'll insert some pictures and videos of it from what it used to look like. But anyway, the cemetery here is not that far away from that. Before we go, I just wanted to say that this case has honestly been one of the most bizarre cases that I've probably filmed and dealt with. Just everything she did and the fact that she only got 2 years in prison, just everything combined, I just can't believe that this is a real thing.
You know, this case has been truly interesting, by far the most interesting case that we've been able to see, and the fact that she's been able to get away with it for so long, it's just been crazy.
And if it happened today, there's no way she would have been able to get away with it. I think because it was in the 1900s, so that's why she got away with it. Honestly, so bizarre and so crazy that this happened for so long before she got in trouble.
I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new around here, again, my name's Harmon. Take you guys around every week to different crime events, crime locations, or anything like that. If you like that kind of stuff, make sure you hit the subscribe button and of course the little bell icon next to it. That way you get notified every time I put a new video out, which is every Monday and Friday. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. And give my sisters and my friend Noah some love in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Linda's. So I always say so. I'm trying not to say so. I say so or because or I'm trying not to say any of those words.
Nice.
Do these massages. I said massages again. Massages. Certain words I just cannot, like, oh my gosh. So I almost said Dorothy. I don't know. Dorothy? Linda.
Dorothy and Linda.
Well, that's one of the sisters of the people that died, so I looked at the wrong name. Because his body was found dead. His body was found dead? That doesn't make any sense. Almost on death's doorknob. Yeah, what is it called? Death's doorstep?
That's
or maybe
death's door.
A death's door.
What's that